Hit the lights.
You've discovered the Halfwatt podcast. We want to educate and entertain by tapping into the most trusted source of new technology, the ones installing and innovating it. You, the tradespeople that build from the ground up. Join us as we talk with industry leaders, veteran contractors, and even some young blood.
Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. I have a special guest today, Eva Sizelove. Eva, tell us your job title. The long one.
The long one.
I'm Eva Sizelove, and I am the Limited Energy Apprenticeship Director for IEC of Oregon.
And that all fits on one business card.
Yes, it
but
does.
You have to flip it over to read it.
Yes, you do.
And I'm joined by Gage. Say something, Gage.
Hello, fam.
Oh, I was so hoping you were going to say something, Gage.
Yeah, something, Gage. And
No,
Tyler.
that was the first take.
Tyler, my big timer. How you doing?
Good, man. Once I saw Eva was coming in, I had to be on the show.
I
Same.
love it.
I drove 45 minutes for this.
Yes. But you drove your new rig, right?
I did. And the whole time I was like, gonna go see Eva and Tyler.
So tell us about yourself. How did you get into this gig?
I got into the apprenticeship program after graduating from PCC with an associate's degree.
Mm-hmm.
Started as a temp person at the front desk. Within 2 months, moved into apprenticeship. And I've been there ever since, 23 years in, running the limited energy program. And for my first 7 years, I was running other apprenticeship programs, sheet metal, HVAC, sprinkler fitters. And so I've been an apprenticeship for 23 years.
Wow.
Whoa.
That is a long resume.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
So you were like, okay, I know how everything works. Let me just focus on one for a little bit.
Forget
Yes,
the tin benders,
running
forget the high
5 different
voltage.
programs is
forward.
a little complicated from licensing
bet.
to non-licensing, and the differences between them, they're all the same, but the state makes it a little difficult with their different requirements.
No.
Right.
I don't believe it.
Well, would you say that Oregon has pretty strict
Yes, they do.
regulations?
Yes,
to
they
get into
do.
this?
The majority of the United States does not recognize limited energy as needing a license or a certification to do this type of work. Here in Oregon, you must be in an apprenticeship program, or Building Codes Division must grant you prior experience in order for you to become licensed here in Oregon to work. So you either have to be a licensed journey worker or a registered apprentice in an apprenticeship program.
So tell us why that is important for people's pay. Like why, for example, if I go to another state that doesn't require this license or requires something I can get in, say, 90 days, is the pay going to be equivalent to what you're making in Oregon minus the cost of living? Or is there an advantage to having the license?
So yes, having the advantage to having this license is beneficial. If you obtain it in Oregon, if you go to a state that does not require a license, it looks like you almost have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree in this field.
In the field.
Because you've been put through a program trained by a contractor and a journey worker for 2 to 3 years. And so it really impresses other states to say you're qualified or you have the knowledge and skills that their states don't provide as far as education
Got it.
goes.
So it matters.
Yes, it does matter.
I tell my students that, look, the more licensing, the more hoops you have to jump through in order to reach a qualification, the more value is placed on that position.
Yes.
And that is in my field, in my specialty, I make a lot more money than folks I know who have, 4-year degrees or higher, or who are out there trying to work that degree. Now, I'm not talking, if they're an engineer or something like that, they're in the engineering field, that's a different, cup of tea. But if you get a degree in underwater basket weaving and you spend $100,000 on that, and now you got to pay that back, right?
Yes.
Meanwhile, you could have gone through the apprenticeship and in 3 years be making money and not paying back, because a lot of these contractors help offset those costs in the apprenticeship.
Exactly. So when someone goes through the program, the benefit of it is the fact that the employer is paying you to learn a trade on a daily basis for the next 2 to 3 years so you can obtain your state license.
Awesome.
And the education that you are receiving from them, some of the employers do pay for education, some of them do not, but our costs for our classes and our apprenticeship program are kept at a minimal. So it is affordable, even if it is an apprentice who has to pay for his own education, it is a tax write-off for the individual at the end
I didn't
of.
know that.
At
No
the,
kidding.
Yeah, I
Yes.
also didn't know that.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
We couldn't because our company paid for our classes.
Well,
So they were using
depending.
the tax write-off.
Yeah.
at a certain point, I stopped letting the company pay for my stuff.
Did you really?
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were admitting to
Yeah,
tax fraud.
no.
I was like, on the podcast?
Attention IRS agents.
I'm going to bleep all of it out. No, I stopped having the company pay
Ain't
just
bleeping
because
crap, man.
at a certain
Let's
point,
dance.
someone told me within the company that because the company was paying for my classes, that I owed it to the company to stick around, that I
Oh.
wasn't allowed to quit and do something else.
They're going to shackle you to a fire panel
Basically,
somewhere?
indentured servitude
Oh, okay.
is what
No,
they were
not
talking
we're going
about.
to. I shackled him to a fire
Yeah.
hydrant.
And so off of principle at that point, I had about a year left at that point. And at that, I was like, okay, that's how you guys think of this. I'm not doing that. I love working for this company, but I'm not going to have anybody tell me I have to work here because they decided to pay for my
Right.
school.
And Tyler's a good guy, so he would have been like, shit, I kind of do.
I do feel that need,
Right.
so I'm not going to play by those rules. So I just started paying for it.
So that's why you started paying for it yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there.
Plus, I started making more money, so I could afford it.
Well, yeah. You started
Like,
making more money
legitimately.
because you turned out. No, I know you didn't turn
by
out at that point.
By that time, yeah.
you were
So
a
it's
third
like because
year-
you're making more money as you go along, and so
Thank you, Eva.
Eva and Gage, because Gage was actually a huge part of that. I worked with Gage towards the end of my apprenticeship, and he went to our bosses and was like, "Hey, stop bogarting money from Tyler. He's
Stop
too
bogarting."
good of an employee." And that was the first time anyone had really stuck up for me.
I didn't say bogarting, but
Yeah, you did.
No, he did.
Yeah, you
you know
did.
what? I take it back.
Yeah,
I
you
did. I said it twice, actually.
Yeah, he did. Because I taught it to him, and he was all excited about learning a new word.
I was like, ooh,
so.
Harry Potter.
But yeah, so that was a big deal. So yeah,
God.
once I got to that point, I just started paying for it myself.
Wow.
So with the education, whether or not the employer does pay or not, you go up in levels of pay. So you complete one class, 3 months of on-the-job hours, you report it to the program, you qualify for second period in the apprenticeship program. So for an applicant or someone coming in, it is affordable, even if they're starting over in their careers, because you are guaranteed a pay increase throughout the program every time you complete classes and a certain number of on-the-job hours. And so it kind of pays for itself because you know those pay increases are coming for your hard work and what you're investing in the program. But those employers are monitoring you, training you, so you do qualify for those.
But when you're
pay
all done with
increases.
this, you're only going to make $20 an hour. So what the hell?
So
Or
once
is
you're
that wrong?
You are wrong.
What? I can never be wrong. I'm always right.
Once you complete the apprenticeship program, right now the Class A limited energy technician is making 40-30 minimum, journeyman rate
40-30 minimum,
minimum.
and that happens. That's already effective now.
That is effective as of June 1st. That is our rate for
Wow.
journeyman rate. And so employers pay a percentage as you are going through the apprenticeship program. But once you are completed, employers can pay you at any point in the program more than what the apprenticeship programs state you're at. Some companies have different pay scales and wages that they work with, and you have different job duties at different companies. So it's evaluated, but apprenticeship programs set a minimum wage for the employers that they must pay while they are putting apprentices through the program.
Awesome.
And you guys stay pretty on top of it. I remember being an
Oh, yeah.
apprentice. And dude, every 6 months I was like,
Yep.
what am I getting, Eva? What
Right.
am I-
Yeah,
what-
no. When as a
6-month
training
pay
agent,
raise, here it comes.
I was like processing those things right now. And when I went to my boss and I said, "Okay, so I'll pick on Nate. Nate's due for this." Well, I said, "No, there is no bargaining, thinking about it. I need your signature here. This goes to HR. Sign. Like
Correct.
that's it. We're not going to think about it with quotation marks. You've done enough thinking. I will rattle my. There's your thinking. So, God, sorry. I had little flashbacks from my management days.
Yeah.
But
I saw that. In
Don't make him manage anything.
your eyes glazed over.
Do I need to send you a re-rate letter? No.
sure, sure, could possibly go wrong. But no, it was critical for me, now I keep changing different sides of the fence. Like one time I'm a contractor, and then now I'm back working in a, at the hospital. So I am looking on the opposite side of working with contractors. So I get to talk to different contractors that come up on the hill, and I meet a lot of them. It's difficult out there right now to get people. It really, really is.
Yes, it is. There is a shortage of journeymen. There's been a shortage for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah,
when the economy changed in 2008, a lot of people left the state and went elsewhere when it was just, it affected the state overall with the journeyman ratio.
Wow.
And so we are rebuilding. Our program is building more apprentices, and we're turning out at least 50 to 70 journeymen a year in Oregon. In 23 years, we've turned out over 2,500 licensed low voltage technicians in Oregon.
No kidding. Huh. Wow.
And they should all be listening to our show.
Yes, they should.
Yeah. Shame on you if you're not. I will chase you with a stick and beat you.
Support your kin.
So obviously you've been a very important person in my life because I've known you the whole time I've been teaching.
Long time.
I know, what do you do personally? I know you play pool. What else do you do? And
play pool, kayak, go hiking, enjoy Oregon. I've been traveling back and forth to California.
What a fun state.
Yeah.
You were
hot
telling
and
me some
dry.
horror stories about
Hot and dry.
Yeah, hot and dry. It's all brown.
But it makes Oregon look so much more prettier when you're coming back over those borders and you know when you're in Oregon.
Yes. Pace of life is a little bit different.
Yes.
I love California. I grew up there.
Right.
You know that. And but there's 50 shades of brown there.
Yes, there is.
And then you're like, man, I wonder if there's another color in the universe besides sand color.
Right.
And there is, turns out. And then you get to Oregon, it's like, wow, there's 9,050,000 shades of green.
Yeah.
Right.
And it rains here like all the time. But I get used to that kind of.
Exactly.
It is a transition to live in this state. It really is.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't live here, so what the hell do you know?
I live in Vancouver.
That's not Oregon.
No, Washington is also the same rainforest.
It's the same. That is the same.
That is true.
Man, that downtown Vancouver is unbelievable.
Isn't it?
It is unbelievable.
Actually becoming so incredible.
It is. It's not becoming. It is unbelievable.
It actually already is.
Yeah, it's there.
That was
It is
absolutely.
I don't mean to
warranted
sidetrack,
correction.
but we went up there and had dinner at a place, like some bar that has like really good barbecue, and it did not disappoint.
Yeah.
It did not disappoint. I was like, wow. And the riverfront and all that stuff, totally different from what it was. So
Is it like a mini vacay in a different state for you?
it really is. Yeah, it really is because I rarely go up there anymore.
And
I used
every
I used
hotel
to get
there
my
is
hair
brand
done.
new.
I used to get my hair like done in Vancouver. Like I had this lady I go up and see, Trang. Hi, Trang. And now I just go to the just local.
Yeah.
I don't go to Vancouver anymore except for the food.
Yeah.
And see you.
Was it Stack 571?
Yeah.
They are so
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, you knew what it was, right?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even have to say what it was.
I've been down there.
Man, okay, so if you guys want to have
I've
some
been down
food,
there.
that is the place in Vancouver. And even there's the Mighty Bowl.
Oh, that place is awesome too.
So
yeah.
if you like bowls, like I like those kind of healthy things like that. Like I just ate a Yum Bowl, right? The Mighty Bowl in Vancouver, hands down, one of the best bowls you're ever gonna get. Hands down.
Yeah, if you want to, do what I do, I eat one vegan bowl a year, and I'm like, boom.
Does that make you vegan?
I am healthy. See you next year, Mighty Bowl. All these free advertisements.
Yeah, when are these people going to pay us money to have
They
a
don't
shout
need to
about?
advertise. They're doing just fine.
You go in there, just throw a handful of entomami at you. Take the soy that way, jerk. No, I really am impressed. It's beautiful up there. They've done a great job.
Yeah,
So whoever's
yeah.
doing their thinking, their urban planning.
Giving a lot of work to low
It's done
volts
it-
too.
Yeah, because everybody's got to go up there and of course I'm licensed in Washington. I tell you what, L&I did me a huge favor because I have an administrator license and it would have lapsed on my birthday, which is this month. And I completely forgot about it because I don't use it. It just sits on, like a wall kind of. Look at that.
Nice.
Score. So out of the blue, I got this email from Ann up there, and she goes, "Hey, man, dude, what's up? Like, you got all the CEs, like, you know, you gonna like renew your stuff? I was like, oh crap. So like that day,
Well, that's awesome.
you know, there's my credit card, paid it. Whew.
As they reached out to you, that's
Yeah, she
very
did.
cool.
Who
And
knew?
and I told
Yeah.
her, yeah, no kidding. I could see her going, should I? He talks so much smack about us, and he
It's
got a
true.
fine on this license. God, man, he's from Oregon. Screw him. But no, she did. No, she really did. And I thanked her for it. I was really appreciative. So,
I have a question actually for you, Eva. So having our license is pretty much a one-way ticket to making more money.
it's your one-way ticket.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a song.
Like I remember back when I was an apprentice, and it was like probably 2018. I was like a fourth term. I got sent down to California to work with a company that we had just bought, and the guy I was working with had been doing what we do for 25 or 30 years. You know, he's all grayed up, and I think I made $3 more an hour than him.
Oh, wow.
Seriously?
I was a fourth term apprentice in Oregon. He was a 25 to 30 year journeyman.
in California?
This was in Berkeley.
Hey, I was born there.
Hey,
It's called Berserkly. You can't say it right.
Berserkly
Don't say it at all.
at a
Wow, no kidding.
at a health food marketplace.
Huh.
But one thing that I kind of wanted to, where I'm getting with this is like, but there's also states like Florida that require a license, but they don't really enforce it. So there might as well not be a license because people unlicensed work there all the time. Do you guys have a pretty big hand in like all the job site visits, or is that just an agreement that you guys have with Oregon to keep our jobs safe? Because it's working very well.
As far as securing your wages, as far as being a journeyman,
Wages, and you guys, it seems like people are always cracking down and trying to find people that are trying to work without licenses. And
they used to call them, I think, trunk slammers or something.
Yeah,
we still call
Oh,
them.
you still do?
still
Okay.
do, yeah.
So in Oregon, by us being a required state for licensing, it does secure your job and your pay, even if you do go to other states. States that have certifications for licensing, they're a little different and they're not as strict. If you were doing inside electrical in other states, they're going to more than likely have a license that has that criteria. But with limited energy, it's not something that's necessarily recognized. Therefore, it's not monitored or
Yeah.
as strict as Oregon, really.
Yeah.
I mean, we have multiple chapters across the United States with IEC of Oregon, and majority of them do not have they have a low voltage program, but the state does not require them to have a program to provide training to the electrical contractors that are doing low voltage.
Okay. So it's an optional thing in a lot of these
And
places.
in a lot of states, yes, low voltage licensing is optional. Sometimes it falls into the utility side of what the states recognize. And so like Comcast and some of those entities are able to perform the work even here in Oregon without having a requirement of a 1-to-1 ratio journeyman to an apprentice. They're able to perform the work with or without the license because they
Okay.
are a utility company.
Okay.
Oh, and they fall under a different
They
set of
fall under a
rules.
different set of rules. And so
Yeah.
when you go to states that have certifications or they say there is a requirement, licensing and inspectors, whether or not they're involved, it depends on the state on what is required.
Okay. So it's like, because we have to take the same codes test as, the high volt guys, we're kind of considered in the same group. So, okay.
Electrical, yeah.
Yeah,
You
So it's
fall.
this-
So
yeah.
our technician license is considered an electrician program, but
Yeah.
it's a technician part of the electrician trade.
Right. I know my Washington one says electrician, and I'm like, thank you. I knew it all along.
Well, one thing is that when you complete
Well,
that
that means you're an electrician.
right. One thing is if you complete the apprenticeship program here in the state of Oregon, and if you go up to Washington and you've completed a program, you can take your completion certificate and the hours that you've obtained in the apprenticeship program along with your classes, submit your application to Washington, and they will allow you to sit for the 06 license.
They certainly will.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the best way, because if you are an apprentice or you are working in the trades, if you're in Washington but you rarely come down to Oregon, it's not worth getting that license or getting in an apprenticeship program because majority of your work is in Washington.
Right.
But if you are here strictly in Oregon and you never go up to Washington to do work, it still allows you to sit for the state exam without you having to get a training card for the
Right.
06 license, because you've went through 3 years of training, where up in Washington they require 2 years of training, and Oregon is 3 years.
What's bizarre is that Oregon only requires like 8 hours of CEs, where
Correct.
Washington
Dude, I know.
requires 24.
Correct.
So you're like, okay, so your apprenticeship is shorter in Washington, but your continuing ed hours are
It's
3
more.
times as long.
Right.
In Oregon, it's 3 times as long, or a third longer to get your license.
Correct.
But then your continuing ed is, easy.
Yeah.
So easier, I should say. But yeah.
And the other thing is with
They get it back
Oregon,
on the back end.
Oh, yeah, I know.
we started, we have a low voltage 8-hour code change course that we offer through our association, and it's open to anybody to take, but it's specific to low voltage technicians. And
Oh,
it's an
really?
online and in-person course.
What does it cost?
I believe it's $100.
Okay, that's cheap.
But that is for 8 hours of credit, and that fulfills your Oregon requirement. Our classes are also approved in Oregon and Washington, so you will receive 8 hours of credit for Washington as
and
well.
you reciprocate that at no cost?
It's no additional cost.
Nice.
You attend the class, you get credit in both states where we have our classes registered.
Nice.
But to take a limited energy course, a lot of contractors, apprentices, and journeymen find it very beneficial because they're not having to learn about higher voltages.
Oh, this code cycle, like the 23 code book is absolutely marvelous book. It's much better than I've ever seen,
Right.
and it's getting better. And we interviewed the gentleman from NFPA recently, and I have to agree that they've got some stuff.
and they have some changes coming
They
up.
have some huge changes. Yeah,
Yep.
limited energy goes into it,
right?
right? So 2029.
Finally.
Into the book.
We made it into the book. Thanks to Dave and his hard efforts, and yours probably too. So, but you're right. When you do CEs, it's almost all high voltage stuff.
It is.
It's almost all, and it's dull. And only thing I found about this particular code cycle and the company I used to renew my license with was they really did a hell of a job. They really did a hell of a job. Like even the high voltage stuff, because normally I'm like, boring. This is not fun. Like I don't care. Like
Right.
just kill me now. It's actually was really, really interesting. So the questions that they put together and the code changes it was a combination of the company doing a good job putting these questions together. So the content manager knew what he was doing or she, and then the actual information in the book was really relevant. And so when I went to teach it, I was like, look guys, this is a really super important book. Like you should really know what the hell's going on in this
Right.
thing, and they made some huge changes. But I don't know. I just find CEs to be not bothersome as much as, it's just a part of my life. I
Right.
spend my whatever hours doing them and get them all knocked out.
And get them done.
Yeah. And
I
then it's
completely agree, by
strategically-
the way. Last year's,
Was it good?
it was actually kind of fun.
It was really
I was
fun.
like, this was really good.
Yeah. The last 2 or 3 were like, just kill me now.
Yeah.
This cannot.
It was like, did you
Possibly
change things
go.
because you felt the need to?
Yeah.
Wait till you have
was
a
it?
conversation with Dave Gilton about the code.
So how does he feel about this latest? I haven't asked him about the latest code.
From what I understand, he likes the changes. He likes where he sees it going, and he's excited about the upcoming changes. I believe is it the 2029 or
2029 is when
is when there's going to be some major changes to the NEC.
Yeah, and that'll be, and that's about right. But like we learned last week, if you want to be involved in the changes now, like now, you got to be involved now. So if you
Right.
have an idea or concept or whatever, you got to get that stuff in now to the right committees, and
Right.
there's a whole process to it. So now I'm teaching my students, this is your book based upon the deaths and maiming of all these people ahead of you. So by all means, get involved if you see something wrong. And then we talk about photovoltaics because you lay these photovoltaics out. Well, the sun doesn't quit, so you've got no choice but to have a way to quick disconnect it when there's a problem.
Right.
And so the code was literally a couple of pages on photovoltaics when it first came out, when they first made an article on it. And now it's like many, many, many pages. Learn about all these things, like firefighters have to cut through the panels to get to the roofs of the houses that are on fire, and the how it places them at risk. And so the whole book has been, and I stand up and hold the book. I said, this book is based literally upon, snaps and problems and things that they've learned.
Right.
And there's been pieces that have come in and gone out, and stuff like that. So it was because we're trying to teach more code. I mean, we know we need that in the apprenticeship because Dave's going, look, you sons of bitches aren't doing your job. I get it. So
it's not that. It's just the
that's what he said. He yelled at me about it. No, he was very accurate. He goes, look, if we're not touching the code in every single class, then by the time the students get to his class, they've got a real uphill climb.
And the students have expressed, they want to learn, they want to know, but they're not on a job site with their journeyman opening the book and learning any piece about the code book. Their journeyman typically already knows the answer. Very few look it up themselves, but some students are very eager to learn and they want to. So even just exposing them how to read in uglies or how to look up, keywords or things like that is actually very important to their training because they're not going to get it from their contractors. And so it's something that we are trying to make more available to the students as they're going through the 9 classes in our apprenticeship program to be exposed to.
Why
that.
did a student this term bring his Henrys in? And it's the first one I've seen in a couple of years. They smoked the other students. It was super fast. So I said, okay, let's see this. Because you fight like you train. So this is what he's using. And I can see everybody in the back writing down, what's that thing called? So I'm like, good. Because my Tuesday night class, no one had it. So I don't talk about it unless you've got one, But in my Wednesday night class, the gentleman had it.
But it is something that the instructors can add to the curriculum for the students to have. And because that Henry's book, Tom Henry's Keyword Index.
Yeah, exactly.
It's something that if they are opening it each term along with their code book, then instructors can help them be more advanced when it gets to code testing.
I know for me, because I failed codes the first time I took it.
I remember.
And she knows all of my dark secrets. No, but because it wasn't till halfway through codes that I realized what I needed to do to pass codes. And by that time, I couldn't get a good enough grade to get out of the slump. And so when I retook it, there was a point where I'm like, I've got NEC, I've got the Tom Henrys, I've even got the Firm's Fast Finder, I've got the table of contents. I looked like Gandalf with all the scrolls around. Of course I do. Everybody knows I'm a nerd.
Scrolls.
And I'm like going through this stuff, but I felt good doing it. It didn't feel chaotic or unprepared or anything. I had if I couldn't find something in Tom Henry's quickly, I could find it in Firm's.
Oh, nice.
If I look at the table of contents to see where I want to find it in the first place. So every student's different, right? There are people that they know it, right? And it pisses me off, those people. But it's great that they exist. I'm someone that even if I'm like, okay, I think this is the answer, I still want to triangulate it. I still want to make sure and find somewhere else. And that's what I did. And it was towards the end of my first time taking codes that I went, oh, that's what I need. These are the books I need. This is the process I need to pass it. And I got an A on every test after that.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. I passed every test. But because I already had an F, I ended up with a D in the class, which is not passing. So I had to repeat it. I passed codes the second time like nothing. It was butter for me. And then I went and took my test, passed the first time. Because I had trained with that process. Nice. And so that's where, and we had a whole meeting about it, and they're like, what could have been done better? And my biggest thing was have the students take codes sooner, even as a test, even as if it's one extra term where they take codes halfway through and they get it into their brain where they go, oh, we got to really figure this out. Even if they don't pass it that time, I can guarantee they'll pass it later on.
Well, and also with the code cycle, the books that are being purchased are for that code cycle. So it's something that is going to be used for that whole period of time. So if we start implementing where students have to purchase the uglies and the keyword index, and instructors are using it in each class for the subject matter that they're talking about, doesn't mean they can't throw in additional questions, but testing the students of utilizing the material will help them feel more comfortable, because a lot of them, there is some students that have test anxiety in general. Yeah. And they will prolong taking their state exam when really they have the knowledge. They're just intimidated by it because now they have all these little books that they are trying to reference to, look at, compare to. And so by being prepared and preparing the students, it will help.
Okay. Well, I can add that to my.
And it doesn't hurt, all in honesty. They're in the end, they have to have it anyways, whether they're going for the 2-year license or the 3-year license, because you are the second class of the program, the apprenticeship. And so you are getting them right in the very beginning.
Yeah, I know.
And so getting them to, I know you know.
It's just kind of sleepy eyed in my class in basic trades going, this really sucks, man. There's a lot of work in this. Yeah. I mean, they do well, but it's all, right. I kind of look at my class as like, you're going to jump on your bike. So you're kind of running up at the ramp and you're like, man, am I really going to jump on my bicycle? Is it going to make it? Crunch. Wow. You did. You landed hard, but, but it's like but it works, because I throw a lot of energy at the students. And I'm exposing
it's actually
them.
The feedback that every single person gets. They're like, he's so energetic. Like even me, I have horrible ADHD, but I could pay attention in Mike's class because he does a really good job of, one, being energetic. So he has your attention. And then you're really good at feeling out the class. Like you'll go into story time if you feel like you're kind of like losing people. And then you bring everyone right back. And then you go, head first back into it. Yeah. So it was really easy to learn, at least for me, from people like that.
There's a lot. I get a lot of feedback in that exact direction, because that's the way I like to. Because I'll ramble, through what I have to say. The book is the accredited part of the course, right. And the book is old, and I know we need to update it and all that crap, but I don't know how I'm going to do all that. But that's another conversation. But and I know that it's getting hard to find, but it does have some really good information. And I had a student in there who came from another state, had worked in the industry quite a while, and he goes, then this book is not bad. I said, I know it's not bad. It's got a lot of good stuff in it, but it's just that you can't teach everything that's in the book.
Correct.
So I can teach allegories and stories, and this is what we did, and this is how it works, and and then get this broad overview of how I look at things and go, in my head, this is the way I see it. And let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about radars. Let's talk about, fire systems, because there's no other thing but fire systems and radars and stuff. So, and I'm able to piece those things together and then kind of coalesce them down, or radio. We'll talk about radios because or communications techniques, but everything is about communications. All of it. Everything's about communicating. Everything in one way or another, you're moving data one way or someplace, some special way. Yeah. And we're all just involved in that, even if you're doing access control or cameras or whatever. You're moving data and you're working on a PLC, and you have to learn the language that is programmed in.
Right. And with classes, you are teaching your students for 48 hours in a term. That's a small amount of time to teach a subject or an overview. But the apprenticeship program in general, your on-the-job training hours that the students are receiving, that's their main knowledge of the skills and what the industry, being taught the industry to obtain their state license. And so your little time with them in the classroom and exposing them to some of the books and the testing and subjects is going to help the students feel like they understand it more, instead of getting to the end and now they get codes. Yeah. And they feel kind of starting over because now they have to learn to maneuver through these other book material that is
that's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
You know what I did before codes, which I think definitely helped me, is I took a notebook and I wrote down every article, the number, and then what it was. And it was like, it ended up being like a 4-page thing, but I could literally say, or, look, 90, blah, 100, blah, 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 250. And I could actually go through every single one and
Isn't that what Dave does with that big index that he puts together?
Does he do that?
He does. He puts together an index of every article.
I know he gives us one.
Yeah, he gives us the table of contents.
Yeah.
And that's from the handbook.
And then
It's from the NEC handbook, the table of contents.
Oh, that's what that.
Because it goes into a little bit more details than the typical softbound NEC handbook. And so, or not handbook, I'm sorry, softbound book.
Softbound book, yeah.
The handbook provides additional graphs, photos, pictures, more explanation. It simplifies some of the articles' terminology.
After talking to Corey I don't want to say it was last week, but because I don't know when it's going to come out in the podcast, the app that he's talking about, where it gives you access to all the NFPA codes, might be the way to go in the future, because it's just like, it has it all. Right. It has all of it. And it has helps. And like, he's doing content creation for specific issues. He says, like, so for example, if you're going to wire a pool for the first time, go out all the pool. What are all the relevant codes pertaining to pools? And it just filters it for you. And you're like, what? And it's got videos and stuff that go with it. So I'm thinking, maybe we don't need to buy the handbook.
Well, unfortunately, when it comes down to testing for the state exam, it's an open book state exam, but it has to be the book. It can't be an electronic copy of the book or anything like that. You actually have to have a physical book.
I didn't think about that.
And
that's why you're here.
Right. See?
Do the thinking.
Answered your question.
You did. That answers that question.
By the way, I'm embarrassed. I shouldn't have said blah, blah, blah. I obviously know that 90 is introductory and 100 is definitions. I shouldn't have said blah, blah, blah. It's like an informative podcast somewhat. And they're like, he doesn't even know what 90 and 100 is. I've been thinking about it since I said blah,
what is
blah,
100?
Blah. Definitions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got that one right.
That's why you chose that number.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good idea, though, to write down all those.
Yeah, because then you're literally writing it down and you're creating like an extra point of memory. Because, I think they say you have to like see it, hear it, and write it down. And those three give you the best odds of remembering. So I was like, I'm going to write all these down, even though I already have it.
And the lucky number 7, if you do something 7 times, you're more apt to recall it.
Right. Another question I had for you was, I think earlier you started to get into it. Did you say you guys were changing kind of the interview or process of picking up apprentices?
So with our apprenticeship program, we've made some changes to our application process, and we've simplified the process. And so applicants who are applying to the program, of course, most electrical programs require you must show proof of diploma or GED or an associate's degree or a college degree, and you must have a C or higher in algebra for 1 year in high school or a placement test. What we've added to that is work source centers and also college testing centers are now offering work keys. And work keys is
work keys
test, and it is more real. I don't know if I'm going to explain it right, but it's real life math. It's more related to something that someone who's taking the test isn't going to need to know statistics or algebra 2 or geometry. They will have to answer the basic questions, but it's equivalent to the algebra requirement for people getting into our apprenticeship program. Cool. So it is something that is offered free through work source centers. And community colleges do charge a small fee to take the test, or if you are applying to our apprenticeship program, Wilsonville Clackamas Community College will offer that work keys test at no cost to the applicants applying to our program.
Wow.
Yes. So with that process,
what kind of fancy knowledge,
right?
Yeah.
Things have changed since you guys were in the program. So with those changes, it's making it simpler for people to get in because they're able to get test results right away by taking that test. They're able to submit their minimum requirements. And then because our program is now open on a month-to-month basis, we don't close for applications. Anybody who's processed within the month will be placed into a group or our applicant
I
list.
didn't know that. Man, that's
By the following month.
Those are cool. That is a cool change.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how does it make it for forecasting though? So now you could get people through.
Forecasting, it's actually been really good. We're not getting an overabundance of applications.
Mm-hmm.
It's just making the process a little bit simpler. So someone's not drawn out for 2 months before they actually get an opportunity to start contacting contractors or have an opportunity to be hired.
Okay.
Some programs only open certain times during the year. And by the time they process applications, it usually takes 6 to 8 weeks for an application to fully be processed. And so we have simplified our process where it doesn't take as long. But we are doing orientations with all applicants. So we explain what the program's about. So if they are applying and they think we are a full-blown 4-year electrician program, we are able to explain to them the difference between low voltage technicians and the electrical program. So it allows us an opportunity to talk to each applicant that is coming in and applying to the program so they have a better understanding of what they are applying for and what to expect. And so within a month and a half, they get placed on a applicant waiting list, and we send out 8 people on a weekly basis to contractors that are available. And contractors get 32 people a month that they are able to reach out to and do interviews. And
that is much more efficient than the old system.
And those applicants are also able to reach out and be proactive and try to also communicate with contractors, because our program does not place you with a contractor, because everyone needs to find the right fit for who they're working for.
Right.
And sometimes placing you with an employer doesn't necessarily mean the right fit. It doesn't mean the company's bad, doesn't mean you're bad, or it just means it may not be a good fit. So by you being able, or applicants being able to interview with contractors, then it allows them that opportunity to evaluate who they're going to be working with.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like if they want to be a fire guy.
Right. There is
would
that.
Everybody wants to be a fire guy. Just not everybody can be a fire guy.
All right. Yeah.
See,
Sure.
There's that.
You know what? Hey.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
Yeah,
give
it's
you
your
all that.
story. Tell it how
That's
you
my
want.
story.
And you're
There
sticking
are
to
other
it.
disciplines besides fire. I just don't know what the hell they are. But no, actually,
I'm gonna get you.
I think that's good because if you do something and then you have to wait weeks and weeks and weeks, then you could be out looking for something different. Well, I was gonna come do your thing, but I could also go paint Cheetos up in Vancouver at the Frito-Lay plant for like $18 an hour. I'm going to go do that.
Right.
So literally you could lose people because
Exactly.
I got a job that's waiting for me, and
Exactly.
this I have to work for.
Well, and all applicants, when they come in, how soon do I get hired? Okay. Unfortunately,
Right. We don't
no
do
matter
that.
what apprenticeship trade you are getting into, from plumbing to electrical to sprinkler fitters, it's the unknown for apprenticeship programs. It depends on the demand, how many contractors are looking. Because you're a part of an apprenticeship program, the contractors have a ratio they have to meet, 1 journeyman to 1 apprentice. They can employ 2 apprentices, but alternate 1 apprentice to work one day and the other apprentice. No, it has to be a 1-to-1 ratio. So that prevents employers, even though they have enough work to provide to additional apprentices, it prevents that from occurring. And so it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So they're restricted to how many people they can employ at the company.
Which is also really good for the trade.
It is, because we are able to ensure that anybody going into the apprenticeship is going to complete the apprenticeship. They have that opportunity. New apprentices typically don't get brought in unless we are out of work, have the opportunity to get back to work before any new applicants come into the program. So it's something that we are able to ensure that anybody who is in the program can successfully complete the apprenticeship.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good way to go. We have 1 apprentice that works for us, and he's shared between 2 of us at least. You know what I'm saying? So when I've got some tricky thing I'm working on, I'm like, get over here.
Right.
Or if I got something, we had a device that needed to be replaced. I found it, troubleshot it, figured out what it was, slammed the lid on it, and said, "Guess she's going to be doing this tomorrow." When he came to work, I'm like, "Okay, here we go." That's for you to do. And it's complicated. It doesn't look like it would be, but it's complicated. It's got a lot of stuff to it.
But those are the things that the journeymen and the employers need to do. They need to expose their students or their apprentices or employees, is what they are, to the company, of those difficult or troubleshooting things, because when they are out on their own, they need to understand how to do it. Some journeymen have a pattern. They want to do all the main stuff and the hard stuff, and they let the apprentices do the basics.
Yeah.
But realistically, every journeyman needs to invest in the apprentice, because they don't want to have to continuously come and repair what this apprentice is doing wrong.
Yep.
And by training them right the first time and exposing them to the troubleshooting and how to figure out those problems.
Yeah, it's a lose-lose.
Right.
When you do that.
In the long run.
Yeah, I mean,
for both people, yeah.
I had to get into arguments with journeymen to tell them, my job is to train, is to be trained. My job is to learn. You got to train me. And I know how to do cameras. I know how to install this. Teach me something I don't know. And he got upset because he literally said, well, if I teach you how to do it, what am I supposed to do? And it's like, go install cameras.
Yeah.
And then there's more important jobs for that person to be able to focus on. By them taking those small jobs away so you can focus on those, they can focus on the bigger jobs. And sometimes they feel like it's taking their job away, but it won't. It's going to advance them to a higher level.
Sometimes as a journeyman, you just need to put your hands in your pockets, shut your mouth, and watch.
Yeah.
And I mean that honestly. You just let them do it. And like I would sit there and go, okay, one quick comment before you knock yourself off the ladder, screwing around with the wrong wiring here. Let's talk about where we're at, and then just redirect and put my hands back in my pockets and watch. It's tough. Training people is tough because they're going to make mistakes that you've blown past 20 years ago, and you're going, but that is the way that people learn, is especially kinesthetic learners have to get their hands on it and manipulate it. Otherwise they don't remember. They just flat don't remember.
And you don't want to be that journeyman that only you can do these jobs, because that means no vacation, that means no time off, that means
100%.
And by training others, that's where it's going to benefit the company as a whole, and also your own job, because now you have someone else that you trained how to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I told you, back when I journeyed out and you became my apprentice for a few months, I was like, if you're going to end up being better, or if you're better than me, you will either end up better than me, whether I try to be smarter than you and not teach you anything. Eventually you will be better than me.
Right.
Teach them everything that you know. If you're scared that they'll take your job,
do a better job.
Yeah, do a better job. I want you to, I think I told you, I was like, I'm going to teach you everything I know, and then I'm going to be better than you.
Yeah. I'm still going to be better than you, because in teaching me everything you know, you learn more.
I did actually, yeah.
Yeah. And I called you out on stuff because I was learning stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a proud moment when your apprentice says...
That was obviously kidding when I said that.
When your apprentice shows you something that you didn't know, or something that they learned, that they shared with you, that's a moment. That's a moment when I'm like, wow, it's, and if you do martial arts and you're training somebody, or you've been trained and you've been trained and you've been trained, and then pretty soon you're at a high enough belt where you need to start training people. Now the shoe's on the other foot. Mm-hmm. And when you're sparring somebody who you've trained and they're kicking your ass at it, you're like, man, this kid's gonna be good.
Proud moment.
This hurts, but this is gonna be good. And if you never let your apprentice ever beat you, or you never give them that chance, then it'll either put them into a path where they don't care, or they'll do one of two extreme things. And that's not what you want in training. You want to see consistency. And I tell people, in the Navy trained me very well. I have zero issues with the way I was trained in the Navy. And they said, we'll just put it to you bluntly. Do you want some clown on watch who's not paying attention, right? And you die. But it's just that simple. That's how critical some of these jobs are. If this person is poorly trained, then we all die. So, okay, there you go. How are you going to train this person? You're going to personalize that power, hold all that wealth to yourself?
Right.
Hell no. And And so it's the same thing with sharing my number with these apprentices to say, look, if you're vapor locked on something, give me a call, give me a text.
Yeah.
Hey man, what the hell's going on here? Look at this picture. Oh, well, what you got there is one of these, and we go through and talk about it. And you can pretty much tell within a couple of minutes, so you pass to them information, just enough to get them back on track. They're super happy.
Right.
They didn't have to call their boss and look foolish in front of them if that was the problem, or it was just a problem that you technically have some knowledge about that they can't get it from anywhere else. And
I get calls all the time.
Yeah,
especially after hours. I do too.
I do. I don't dissuade anybody from calling me. And if I don't want to take the call, I won't take the call. If I'm busy watching Gilligan's Island reruns, I'm not going to answer the damn phone.
Well, one good thing with our instructors, all of them have offered to students, willing to help, willing to answer questions. And sometimes it's just that they're on a job site. They don't know what to do. Their journeyman doesn't know. They're, trying to use their resources, but each of the instructors in our program is more than willing to help or answer questions.
Yeah, I don't think we have any
time.
of them that wouldn't be the same way. Yeah,
exactly.
I don't think we have any.
23 years of this, and I can guarantee you our instructors have always been very helpful. It's just, if you have a question or you need help, reach out to your resources, and that's the only way to find the information. If you just assume or you think things stay the same, they don't. No. Every day changes. Every day is a new day. So it's one of those that.
This has been a good field for me to get into, I think, because it was very similar to the way I was. I call it the way I was raised, but it was where I cut my teeth on being a tech, because I was a shitty tech. It took me a while to figure it out. Like, it was not easy to figure out how to put it all together. I could operate the equipment like nobody's business. I could sit down. I knew where all the bells and whistles and knobs did, and I figured all that stuff out pretty quick because I'm kind of intuitive that way. But when it came to troubleshooting, it just became frustrating, really frustrating. And it wasn't until you went, oh, well, there's all these methods and ways. And when I went to tech school on troubleshooting and they showed you those methods and ways, that I just grabbed that and began to use it and then to teach it. And then when I work with really good techs and watch how they did it, I'm like, well, shit, they're using the same technique. Yeah. It's just that they're doing it all in their head, where I'm like writing it out, and just the way I operate. So, it paid off. Like, it really did pay off. So,
yeah, I'd say so.
I like to think so.
You getting a
Good
free
job.
trip out to Milwaukee headquarters in a couple of weeks.
Big timer, not Milwaukee, Oregon, I might say, with an IE. No, this is the one with 2 E's.
2 E's.
Big timer.
Double E.
Double E.
Double E. Home of beer I can't drink. Line, nice. Whatever.
What are you doing after you quit completing this work order? We're going to Milwaukee. It's going to be me that Monday.
So I don't know. The podcasters
You're
know
so
that
excited.
we're
I'm so
going there,
excited.
right? That Milwaukee Tools invited.
Yeah,
all of us.
yep. We're flying out in a couple weeks to Milwaukee headquarters.
As of recording, this might be like
This may be before or after.
This might come
we
out.
may have
after.
already been there, and we had a time warp. You weren't involved in it.
Yeah,
And
next
we
week
advanced in time.
behind.
You're
you
behind
might
the
be
times.
hearing about our fun adventure at Milwaukee.
Yeah, exactly. But if you follow us on the Instagram, you'll see us taking a bunch of pictures and probably some little clips from interviews with
Should
our
be fun.
engineers and stuff.
Especially for those of us who don't wear clothes. All right. I'm just teasing, man.
Mike's gonna get real weird in Milwaukee. Milwaukee
that's
Mike
what
is completely different.
That is the place to get weird, I hear.
Yeah.
Wisconsin is just happening. Cheese. We don't have that here.
Packers.
There is nothing I would love more than our PR contact pulling me aside and being like, so what's his deal?
Why did you bring him? Exactly what function does he perform in your world?
We like our hosts batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why
That's why
I'm on half the episodes. I'm only half crazy.
That's why you're half watts.
Ooh.
Oh.
If you really want to see me go off the hook, get me a venti dark roast.
Yeah.
Give me a coffee.
The shakes,
dude,
get it going.
I did comedy when I did stand up to try to make something of myself. Of
an interesting place to
all
start.
the different things I tried, the best was coffee.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if you're doing an open mic at 11 at night and your crap has to get up at 5 in the morning, you ought
It's
not
not
be
gonna work
drinking
out very
venti
good.
coffees.
Yeah.
But if you do drink a venti coffee and put me in front of a
Maybe
mic,
we can try and find a comedy club in Wisconsin and we can get you out.
no, I don't think I can
that
I
would
can
be
do an
so
open
Just
mic
a
like that.
solid
But
5
on our,
minutes.
on
Yeah,
our
I was gonna
actual-
say, dude, hey, work on your tight 5.
Yeah.
and then
If you do it, I'll do it. How about that?
Talk
It's
to the
been a while
Milwaukee
since I've
rep
done that.
and see what they recommend there.
Yeah, see?
yeah,
dude.
maybe you should do it there in front of.
Oh, yeah.
No, don't set me up for failure that way.
Like, don't give him his
But-
gift bag until he does this. until he does this
Make him
5.
dance like a monkey. Go.
I do want to say, I was exceedingly happy to have you on the show, Eva.
Oh, thank you.
Just because, I've been thinking about this show since I was an apprentice,
Long
sitting in
time.
class, and honestly, a big part of it was listening to Mike. But I've always thought
Drone
that,
on. You didn't add the Mike comment. Drone on.
yeah, I had to think
About
about something,
useless
anything
crap.
else. But no, just I've thought for a long time that this is something like watching what IEC has done, not just in my life, but my whole family's life.
Right.
Like every
Multiple
one of my
family members.
family is
Yep.
in this trade basically, and then my friends, and it's just fantastic. And so it's really, really nice. It's cathartic for me to have a representative from IEC to be on the show, to kind of have that full circle effect of I started with IEC, now we're here doing this, and I think it could be really, really cool to see how it grows. So
Yeah.
just thank you for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. That was my sentimental moment, so I don't know what you guys got planned.
I was going to look up cathartic.
Cathartic? You don't
Yeah.
know what cathartic means?
No, I've heard it used, but I really honestly don't know what it means.
I couldn't talk because I was tearing up. I couldn't have said that. I couldn't have said it any
Let me
better.
give you my snot rag here. There you go.
Cool.
Is cathartic just like super happy? Is that?
No, it's like healing.
Oh,
it's like
oh.
it's like it makes you a better person,
No kidding.
sort of thing.
I did want to say I was on the limited energy IEC application for like 5 years, and I think I recently noticed that I was taken off. Does that mean my checks are going to stop coming?
Oh, right. You were a model for IEC, right?
I was, me and Ashley.
You're still on our wall.
Oh, no kidding. That's right.
Yeah, I was on the application
Yeah,
for
there's
a
because
long
there's two more
time.
back over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, those folks are already journeymen, and
Yep.
everybody's out running around.
That is one thing about the apprenticeship program and going through it is seeing everyone who has completed. They start young or they start a new career or a new stage in their life. And then by the time they're done, they've either have kids, they're married, that's why I do apprenticeship. I enjoy
So you've
helping.
seen this many generations of people. I mean, like, look at the Claussens, the Claussen clan, right? I mean, how many?
That's what we
there-
do, man.
I mean, how
They
many have they
haven't-
come through?
They have a full basketball team of low volt
Low
technicians.
voltage people.
Yeah. We're getting close to starting our own company. It's gonna happen. We're just gonna be
It's going to be called Claussens.
Claussen and Claussen and Claussen and Claussen. If you need fire systems installed, call Claussen and Claussen and Claussen and Claussen.
It sounds like a legal firm going
Yeah.
mad. Oh God.
We are CCCC. We send our apprentices to CCC with the IEC.
So you can get CC installed. Close.
I fell asleep. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I had a great 5 minutes.
That
ready.
wasn't on you. That was on me. I was losing attention while I was talking.
Yeah.
Just
well, it really is. This has really been a life-changing thing for me to be involved with it. It really has been. You know,
The industry has grown so much over the years. And I mean,
Yeah.
23 years, so much has changed.
but there's not been any turnover in with IEC. Cindy's still there. You're still there. Kristen, who went from
Yes.
JATC over to IEC, is still there. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Sarah's still there on the other side. So it's
Exactly.
like, you know, on the JATC side. So it's like you've got the same people year after year after year. So it's like, why are you guys still here? Well, it's obviously because either pays killer amounts of money. Well, I didn't see you driving a Lamborghini in the goddamn lot, or you like it and it's important to you, and it's important to, see this successfully go all the way through.
It is.
And that's, you're like a pillar in this industry.
Been doing a long time, but one of the things that has been very beneficial is people that come from out of state to Oregon and they don't know how to apply directly to Building Codes Division. And so I become a resource to people that helping my contractors and just helping general people that come to the state and they're just lost. Because it's really hard to find information specific that speaks the right language, that they understand what it is they're being asked of, or how do they...
I think you're right, because when I came out of the military, I'd stumbled into a place that said, well, you could do this. And they sent me a package which included getting the JLE at the time.
Right.
And I didn't understand any of it. It was all what? I don't know how, what? No, I don't even know. I didn't even know where to go. I think I went to AGC to talk to them, and they were kind of helpful. And then I got picked up, I picked up a job.
Right.
So I went off and fixed something that didn't require a license, and wondered what that was all about.
Right.
And it wasn't until I went to work for Simplex that that
got you back in.
Yeah, they got me back
on
in,
the track.
and actually it was when I went to OHSU when they said, well, you can come up here, but you have to have a license. I'm
right.
Like, well, how we get that? Oh, here comes this package again, only with a little bit more explanation.
Right.
It's because I was at JLE.
Right.
To begin with.
Well, and back in 2003, the JLE and RET was the main licenses for low voltage. And so it was a 4-year and a 3-year program at that time, or 2-year and a 4-year at that time. And then
So
2007, RET was where it was a restricted technician license, restricted energy technician. So they broke it into 3 categories. You were either an HVAC tech, you're a data communication networking tech, or you're an AV tech. And so they had a 2-year license specific for those tracks.
That's how that works.
And then in 2007, when the license changed from a 4-year to a 3-year, and it changed to an LEA or an LEB, then that is where they determined whatever 2-year track you were on, they either grandfathered you in for an LEA if you were a part of the protective signaling, fire and life safety, security, those pieces. But if you were a part of the other, then they only granted you an LEB license.
Yep. Because I remember they said, well, on my JLE, I had 5 endorsements, and they said, you could go be an LEA, which is what I needed to be, but then you have to go through this class. I took an 8-hour class. And me and the guy I worked with at OHSU, we both were like, what are we doing this for?
Right.
They're talking about stuff we already know. I'm like, shh, shut up. We're going to pass the class. Go. So we did. It was fun.
Yeah.
And then I got an LEA, but I didn't get like a super low number, which I was bummed about.
So, to close us out, because we've hit our time. I hate to do it to you. I have 2 more questions.
Oh,
One,
I'm ready.
Is
you sounded like I'm sorry.
I was inconveniencing her. Yeah.
No,
that's how I felt.
Just too good of an idea.
Oh,
I gotta figure out how to make money on this.
Yeah. It's just too good.
It's just too good. I got 2 questions.
This was me and you after you explaining the podcast to me.
Yep.
This is just too good.
Gotta figure out how to make money off this.
I really want
to.
So the first one is, you are so, it's an understatement to say that the low voltage trade is growing, and the need for more people is growing every single day, and people are retiring, and now a lot of companies that aren't low volt or electrical companies are hiring these guys on. So we're losing guys there too. Do you guys have a plan to expand the amount of classes that you guys are going to be hosting a year? Or
so as we have new apprentices coming in, last September we ended up offering 3 basic trade and code classes. That means 25 students in each class.
75.
So we adjust based on our intake.
You can do math? Oh, that's cool.
A little bit.
Finally.
Thank you.
But we adjust to our intake, and we are able, with our instructors, we're always looking for substitutes and additional instructors. But depending on what comes in, we do adjust term by term to meet the needs of the trade.
Okay. And then the last question before we let you go. Again, thank you so much. I was
You're
so happy
welcome.
to have you on. There's not one guy that's a low volt in Northern Oregon who doesn't know who Eva Sizelove is. I was thinking, why do we still have LEBs? Like, have you guys ever thought about just only offering LEAs at any
Well,
point?
there is some companies that you need to understand that that's all they focus on.
Right.
There's 9 different areas a low voltage contractor can focus on that's related to the license that they are obtaining. And
Right.
so the state of Oregon will not get rid of the LEB. We have been talking with other apprenticeship programs, maybe about a 2-to-1 ratio, if we can get other LEB programs on board with that. But I don't foresee the LEB going away. But
Right.
there is companies that have been very successful, apprentices that are very successful and happy with just an LEB license.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's just a small number. I would say 75% of our apprentices are LEAs.
Okay.
And it's a small percentage, but it's still a need in the industry that needs to be fulfilled. And they suffer just as much as you guys do for an LEA journeyman.
Right. Yeah, I've met a couple people that ended up getting the LEBs, loved working for their companies, and then, wanted to move to a different city, kind of get into more LEA work. And then they're like, damn, now I have to go do another year.
Well, they do another year, but they need that year to be educated by their employers on those areas that they haven't been able to touch in the past.
That's a great way to say it. No, perfect. All right. Yeah. I mean, that.
Yeah.
So having a 2-year license, you can get back into the apprenticeship program and continue on. Depending on what apprenticeship program you join, they will have some different criteria. But if you have a license, then the individual low voltage programs in Oregon would recognize your license, and then you'd only have to continue on for whatever doesn't cover under the LEA.
Yeah. One of the guys in my class was an LEB, just finishing his last year so he could do fire and
Oh, so
access
he went
control.
back to get his A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, perfect.
Nice.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Gage is going to go for his B now.
I want both. You don't need both.
A to B. Only Gage.
That's it, guys. I've
giving
made a
up my A,
decision.
I'm gonna
I'm
go
going
for
back
B
for my
now.
B.
Can't
All
take
right.
this anymore.
Eva, I hope you enjoyed your time with us.
I loved it, actually.
yeah.
Seeing familiar faces. It's been a while. Seeing you guys when you first got in the program to where you are now. I mean, it's amazing.
I was skinnier. I was way skinnier. Having a kid made me blow up real fast. It's that pregnancy weight. I can't
Way
get rid of it.
skinnier?
I was so much skinnier, dude.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I just don't study about it.
Thanks for listening to the Half Watt Podcast. We always want to hear from you, and we encourage you to email us at halfwattpod@gmail.com with questions or even your own stories. Funny, crazy, or praiseworthy, we want to hear it all. You can follow us on Instagram at halfwattpod to stay up to date on our feed. And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And share us with a friend, the best way to help us grow. The Half Watt Podcast is a production of Now Hear This Studios.
So awkward, dude.
Yeah, that is awkward.
It's my job.